Hi, I'm Kapil, founder of Zorbis AI. Internet is set to take a big leap in coming few years, mainly thanks to generative AI. And in this journey, SaaS is getting impacted too. You may have seen many articles saying SaaS is dead, and many more such articles. In my humble opinion, not really dead, but certainly center of gravity is changing. We are getting more and more agentic, and that changes the business landscape as well. And this change is actively happening at a very fast pace as we speak. Let's take a quick peek. It all started with the Gen AI models. You have input tokens. Weights are kind of compressed form of a relationship between all possible tokens, and this setup is capable of generating a meaningful next token most of the time. And then comes the AI agents. AI agents are built up on top of Gen AI models. They are using the models as a component IP within them and using LLM for reasoning. Now, these agents are adept at completing one set of tasks. Just for the highlighting the importance of this point, 2025 is being called Year of AI Agents in VC and the startup world. Then comes this agentic web. Agentic web is yet to come in few years. Imagine a parallel virtual world with billions of agents working on behalf of real world individuals and organizations, and they interact in this parallel world like we do in the real world. They discover each other, hire, evolve, and so on. Now, this web will be a bit evolved compared to Web 2.0, etc. and all, and it will enable next level of AI agent driven business changes in the coming decade. Let's take a dive in as to what changes come by. One obvious one is reasoning in the workflows. If you see, traditionally the SaaS flows, they were statically defined and coded workflows, pretty much static by large. And this is where the agentic approach changes the thing, and it brings in the intelligent dynamic execution. We have some amount of reasoning inbuilt into it, which are otherwise very, very difficult to program. Let's see some examples. So here is one person wanted an agent to do a task. Uh, and the task is the reschedule either my customer demo or my trip, whichever is optimal. Now, in this case, what the agent will do is it will check the calendar, detect the conflict, and it will reason out which is easier to move, meeting versus flight, and rebook the flight only if it doesn't exceed certain budget, and then updates all the stakeholders. This whole set of activity can be taken up by the agent. Now you think over it, why not SaaS? Because SaaS, whole thing requires the cross-constraint reasoning, and it's not a simple if then else rules kind of a thing. So let's go to another example. This is the code debugging and proposing the fixes. So the task is, let's say, analyze and fix, failing IP pre-silicon in the regression. Now what the agent will do is, agent will analyze the logs of the failing test, identify the root cause in the RTL or firmware, propose a fix, and then check if it aligns with the coding guidelines and the spec intent. This example is actually one of the things that product of my company Zorbis will do. Let's take another example. Let's say one salesperson somebody to analyze which 10 prospects should that salesperson prioritize this quarter. Now what an agent will do is it will weigh in the CRM data, check what stage the deal is on, what is the size of the deal. It will check through the recent emails to infer and interpret the interest level. It will check the new sentiment about the potential buyer company. What are the layoffs happened? What's the funding status and all? And it will see the competitor overlap. And this whole thing combined, it will kind of come up with the 10 prospects that the sales guy should be prioritizing on for this quarter. Now, for these three examples, reflect out the reasoning aspects that come by. Another big thing that changes is the long tail workflow economics. Let's understand this. Have you seen sometimes that when you're doing shopping on Amazon, sometimes in the left side filters, they fall short, and you would have wished if this kind of filter would have been there, it could have shortened your list and you could have saved some time in the process. But you don't get those things. So what really happens is that traditionally, by large, the SaaS focuses on the head. And it makes sense as well. of the further things. If there are some particular features that are useful for very less amount of time by very less percentage of the users, there is a complexity, there is a risk of complicating the flows for the low ROI. And the UI also gets complicated in the process. It's like imagine a product manager sitting in a SaaS company and it's deciding against the implementation of some low ROI features, and rightfully doing so. Now, this is where the agentic things change the things. They can cater to even n is equal to 1 flows. Let's see some example. Let's say some niche research has to be done. And the task is find all papers in the last 3 years on low power RM controllers that cite both Stanford and IMEC work. Now, this is way too specific for Google Scholar or Elsevier filters. Now, what agent will do is it will query the multiple databases, it will reason over citations and produces the summary. Thus, this task gets completed in a nice way. Let's take another example of a small business, some niche operation that they want to do. Now, this shop owner, let's say, wants to track which items were greater than $30, sold in December, check the supplier availability, and if the shipping can happen in less than 10 days, then automatically do the reorder email. Now, this thing, it will be too much of an overkill, and pretty much no SaaS vendor will build for the this particular requirement, one-time requirement of the shopkeeper. Okay. Yeah, one more thing. The long tail workflow economics itself, if you see the magnitude of it, there was one survey analysis that was done. All the knowledge workers worldwide, roughly 30 to 35% of the time, goes up into some long tail workflow overheads. That means if theoretically you have an opportunity of saving that 30% bandwidth of the worldwide knowledge workers, and that amount in terms of dollars itself comes up in the trillions. Now, this is another big flip that is happening. So far, the app's UI, which is in form of the dashboards or the forms, has been the way users are interacting with the SaaS. And this now gets changed to the agent UX. And it is an upgrade for user experience as well, and the capability wise as well. The agent UX will be the conversation and the receipts will come up rather than fixed dashboards and forms. And the another advantage is this time the tool will adapt to the user rather than user adapting to the tool. Let's see just this block diagram. Imagine the SaaS has two components, in a real, nothing like imagining. Server-side software and the user-side software, and including the UI. Now these two talk to each other. So see the star that I have drawn up above the UI. This is the showing the agent sitting in there and taking a place in the UI. Now agents will percolate to UI, but they will actually also percolate at every place where reasoning can help handle better. So ideally, it would be good, right, to expect many of them sitting on the server side as well as on the app sides. In fact, there will be an agent orchestration layer that will coordinate the subtask across multiple agents. Think of it like a traffic controller or the conductor for the multiple AI agents, and it's dividing the task in the subtask and ensuring that the net deliverable is good quality. Let's go to the business perspectives. As I mentioned in the beginning, the center of gravity is moving in the SaaS world. App UI used to be the mode of SaaS. It was a lock-in that customers, once they get used to that UI, it will not easy to move to another one and get used to the another UI. No more. Apps will lose this front door lock-in. And now their battle will shift to being the most agent-friendly or not. At the most risk, actually, are those SaaS products which have thin workflow logic and are kindly relying and winning so far on the UI mode. Since UI mode goes away now, these set of products are at a highest risk. Even the workflow of the SaaS will have a lesser value in the world. The mode actually will, for the current portion of the SaaS, will shift to data trust, compliance, and API quality. New valuation lens will be there, which will refer to the effectiveness of being called by an agent. Another thing that is changing is the SaaS revenue model. Now, SaaS is like a gym membership where you pay for the gym membership and you get access to the equipment, but you still have to go there and work out. And similarly, seeing, let's say if you're 10 people, you club up and go to the gym membership, you kind of get some discount possibly. That's what the SaaS is. Now, with agents coming in, now this is still the gym membership, but additionally, it's like trainer is going on and doing exercise on your behalf. And that's the shift that is happening. And this is weakening the seat economics in two ways. Now, what will emerge instead of that is the outcome based pricing. Whatever task you get done, you get charged for that rather than having a seat of it. One aspect is there is a certain advantage for the companies that will stay totally AI native. They won't have a baggage, and that's advantage they carry. In terms of the CAGR, there will be few components that will be having a higher percentage of the CAGR growth. This thing. So one is agent orchestration platforms, and the other is outcome priced vertical agents. And they both are expected to have around 50%-ish CAGR for the next few years. One caution, inference cost still needs to be kept in mind. All the things that we talked about are not a done deal. The use cases gets enabled as the inferences cost come down for them to be economically viable and economically usable of it. Now, with this big change, there is a huge opportunity, and we'll be seeing a lot of new winners in the coming 5 years. Thank you. We'll share a separate video on what kind of AI startups might survive better in fastly changing AI landscape. Stay tuned.